Bronco players aren't shying away from deserving boos after starting the season 0-2. Welcome into your Denver Sports Daily for September 16th. Let's go.
Taking you through your morning headlines, it's Denver Sports Daily with Rachel Vigil.
It was an ugly one again as the Broncos fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers 13-6, and they can't seem to figure out the rush game. The offensive line can't seem to protect Bo Nix, and wide receivers and tight ends are both dropping passes. The offense for the Broncos is struggling. Defensively, they're not looking too bad. Still held the Pittsburgh Steelers to 13 points. But Broncos country, I'm very curious from your perspective. Who is the biggest problem area on this Denver Broncos team? Is it the offensive line? Is it the running backs? Is it Coach Sean Payton? Let us know in the comments today, and we'll get to some of those at the very end. One of the main issues is the fact that they can't seem to get the rush going. The Broncos' leading rushers through 2 weeks of the seasons, you got Bo Nix at 60 yards, Javonte Williams at 40 yards, Jaleel McLaughlin at 33 yards, Tyler Beatty at 16, and Audric Estime, who's now on IR, at 14. The fact that your quarterback is your leading rusher tells you pretty much everything you need to know about this Denver Broncos offense. Now, there was a lot of boos at Mile High yesterday, but Javonte Williams says they're pretty deserved. Take a listen.
Not to be blunt or anything, but a couple boos going around the stadium today. I mean, can you blame the fans after this first 2 weeks?
No, because anytime we lose, we deserve a boo, so they could boo all we want when we lose.
I was arguing with some people in the comments the other day because they were talking to us about how the media, we don't ask questions like if we were fans. And my response was, well, the second you're handed a credential, we lose all sort of fandom. We have to sit there and look at the game as if we aren't a fan, which can sometimes be hard to do, but that's the job that you are essentially taking on. Now, my one other take is that Sean Payton, Javonte Williams, Bo Nix, I promise they are more frustrated than anybody else can possibly be when it comes to this Broncos offense. And Sean Payton is still taking the blame, saying that he needs to look at the way he's handling a lot of things. Take a listen.
And I just finished telling the offensive coaches, that needs to get, that side of the ball needs to get cleaned up, and that starts with me. We got to start really looking at who we're asking to do what. And that was, it was frustrating because there were certain elements that went kind of according to plan field position wise, but our inability to score and convert third downs, ultimately hurt us.
I thought we were going to see improvement from week 1 to week 2 with this Denver Broncos team. But to be real, it didn't feel like we did. It kind of feels like they almost took a little bit of a step back. Their 2-minute drills seem to be what was working for this entire Broncos offense, both in week 1 and week 2. But you can't do the entire game doing that. So what will the Broncos change? What will Sean Payton change? Will he stick with more of the same guys? Are they doing too much rotation? I'm going to be really curious to see what he has to say. He's just talking to the media here in a few short moments to say what he says after he's looked at the tape so far this morning. Of course, we'll have all the information that you need at denversports.com. So definitely make sure you stick to that. Now, Bo Nix will, of course, get all of the blame when it comes to a lot about what the Broncos offense is doing. Now, I don't think that's entirely fair. We saw a lot of dropped passes. We also saw the offensive line crumble on him a little bit. He's got to learn to step up in the pocket just a smidge. We'll talk to James Marilat about what he's seeing out of the rookie quarterback at 12 o'clock on Coffee Break. So make sure you come hang out with us. But Courtland Sutton, he's not putting any blame on Bo Nix, essentially saying that he doesn't know what it's like to be a rookie quarterback in this league. But he does know is it's one hell of a job. Take a listen.
I don't sit back. I wouldn't be able to tell you what they see back in that pocket. I have so much respect for every quarterback that sits back there and takes snaps. Talking to Kendall Hinton, Kendall played quarterback in college, and he said that when he had to play quarterback against the Saints in 2020, it was the hardest thing that he's ever had to do. And so I don't know what those guys see back there. All I know is they trust us to be in a spot. And like I said a little bit earlier in this interview, sometimes the defense makes good plays. They have a lot of guys over there that get paid money to go out there and do their job at a high level, and sometimes those guys make good plays. And sometimes you just got to tip your hat to a guy that makes a good play, and that guy made a good play. That guy went back there and made a good play, and you got to tip your hat and go back out there the next time we get the ball and execute.
Thank you very much.
Now, in Broncos country, we are, of course, all worried about Bo Nix. Lots of people coming out saying, oh, he's a bust already. Well, here's one good thing overall about the rookie quarterbacks so far we're seeing this year. Not a single one has thrown a touchdown yet this season. A little bit of a rough start for all the rookie QBs in the league. That includes number 1 overall pick Caleb Williams as well. Just a couple injury updates for you as well with the Broncos. They did lose John Franklin Myers to a concussion yesterday. He joined wide receiver Devon Vele as players unavailable. Vele did not play on Sunday due to a rib injury that he suffered at Seattle. And then you also have edge rusher Baron Browning, who also left in the first half. He was questionable to return with a foot injury. We'll keep you up to date on all of those injuries at denversports.com as well. Let's switch over to Russell Wilson, because yes, it was going to be the return of Russell Wilson, RW versus Sean Payton, who was going to win. And then Russell Wilson was dealing with some injuries. He still suited up as he was the emergency quarterback yesterday, but in fact, he didn't touch the field and he still got a game ball. Hear from Justin Fields, the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, on why he got a game ball. Take a listen.
I mean, I think we all know Russ kind of did dirty last year, so I know he wished, he could have played today in this game, but it's awesome, getting a win for him. He got a petty game ball, so yeah. It's great getting a dub for us, for sure. Kind of game ball? Petty game ball, because he was here. So a few guys got it, him, Brandon, and Corliss too. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer. A petty game ball. I don't think I've ever heard it, but Russell Wilson wasn't the only one to get it. 2 other Bronco players, or former Bronco players, did in fact get it too. Broncos country, how are you feeling right now? Are you putting a lot of the blame on Sean Payton? Do you think that it was, in fact, SP who should get the blame for how last year went? The offense hasn't changed much. And was Russell Wilson actually the guy that was helping them win games, even though we were all putting the blame on it? I'm very curious. So please let me know down in the comments. We'll get to those at the end of the show, like I mentioned. We'll head on over to another part of the NFL, because this is who the Broncos will be taking on next week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers came out on top at Ford Field yesterday. The Lions' 5-game home winning streak was snapped by a nasty Tampa Bay offense as the Bucs took a 2016 win on the road to move to 2-0 on the season. Baker Mayfield finished the game completing 12 of 19 attempts for 185 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Now, the Lions' Jared Goff threw 2 interceptions and finished 34 of 55 for 307 yards. Tampa Bay's defense is nasty. Baker Mayfield is finding his stride. This is going to be a really tough game for this Denver Broncos team as they head down to Tampa. One, it's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. And again, it feels like Tampa and the Bucs are really just starting to figure out who they are as a team. So let me know in the comments who you are planning to take this weekend. And can the Broncos figure it out as they head on the road? They will be staying on the East Coast with the Jets game the following week. So they'll be down there for a full week, just themselves, just hanging out. And hopefully they're able to really figure out who they're going to be as a team and their identity moving forward. Sticking in the NFL, we got to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, because they're also starting the season 0-2. So everyone's talking about the Bengals. They could possibly be in a Super Bowl team, at least a playoff team. So if you're a Broncos fan, obviously it's nice to see other teams that are very highly regarded starting the season 0-2. But Cincinnati Bengals and Kansas City Chiefs games came down to the wire last night. And of course, it felt like everything went the Chiefs' way. The game ended in a heartbreak for the Bengals thanks to a Harrison Butker 51-yarder as time expired, giving the home team a 26-25 win. It took the Bengals essentially having to have the Chiefs go on a failed 4th down conversion, but the refs had a defensive pass interference that just breaks your heart a little bit, leading to the game-winning field goal by Butker. The Chiefs improved to 2-0 on the season, and the Bengals fall to 0-2. Now, there is still some drama happening with Jamar Chase as well, so the contract debacle is continuing to have twists and turns. And how about this? He reportedly took out $50 million of an insurance policy on himself to protect himself against injuries this year. I'm like, okay, isn't the NFL supposed to do that? Well, with the extension and what he's looking for, apparently they didn't like some of the wording that was coming out of it. They were hoping for something. The money's there, but it's the structure of the deal and the payout of the money that Jamar Chase and his team just do not like from the Bengals at all. So we'll see what ends up happening, of course. But Chase says he won't have any more contract talks with the Bengals during the regular season, looking to just focus on football, essentially. Now we'll head on over to some college ball because we got to talk about the Rocky Mountain Showdown. Let's go. Well, you all know I went to Colorado State. You know that this one hurt just a little bit extra as the Buffs beat the Rams 28-9. Last week, I came on and I said that I didn't like the fact that there was some talk going on from the CSU players, from their starting quarterback, their wide receiver who's possibly being looked at to make it into the NFL. And there was some nasty comments that came out looking to quote unquote murder them. And then also talking about Instagram followers when talking about Shadur Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, Travis Hunter. So there was definitely a chip on the Buffs' shoulder, and they came out and they played. Even though early on it looked like things were falling the Rams' way, quickly changed on that note. The Buffs, obviously, like I mentioned, they win 28-9, and they made sure to hear lots of comments. Now, there are tons, and I mean tons of videos on social media right now for all of you to go and watch after the show is over of disrespect, in a sense, of players not wanting to shake hands, coaches not talking to each other. I mean, literally, I feel like I was scrolling on social media and there was another video after another video of all of these things. There is bad blood between these two teams. And unfortunately, we're not going to see the Rocky Mountain Showdown for 5 more years, which is a bit heartbreaking as well. A game that means so much to so many fans. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with us not having the Rocky Mountain Showdown, which way Prime goes as now they go into Big 12 play, essentially. But also the future for Jay Norvell. He'll have to beat Wyoming to keep his job this year. So it's definitely going to be interesting. Now, let's talk a little Peyton Manning. And you might be like, okay, well, I thought we moved on from the NFL. Well, we're going to be talking about his nephew, Archie Manning, the grandsons of Archie Manning, Arch Manning. So he entered into Saturday's game versus UTSA after starting quarterback Quinn Ewers was injured in the second quarterback. And everyone was like, all right, Arch Manning, what have you got? You got the coolest uncles ever, pretty much. And Manning threw for a 19-yard touchdown pass on his very first play and followed that up with a 67-yard touchdown run on the Longhorns' next possession. Overall, he threw for 223 yards and 4 touchdowns in a dominant 56-7 win. Arch Manning, nephew of Peyton and Eli Manning. Seriously, can you get cooler uncles right there? Grandson of Archie Manning, an absolute legend. And during his redshirt freshman year, he only had completed 11 passes. So for him to go on for such a dominant win really shows that the future could be bright for Texas. So we will definitely see. Moving on to the Denver Nuggets now, though, it is Aaron Gordon's birthday today. So we want to wish him a very happy 29th birthday. A legend that is AG for sure. And just in case you forgot, AG is changing his number to number 32 this year in honor of his older brother, Drew, who tragically passed away earlier this year. So happy birthday to Aaron Gordon. We hope he has a great day. Now it is Monday night, which means we got some Monday night football. Pumped for it as the Eagles will be taking on the Falcons. But fantasy owners, just in case you did not see, the Eagles will be without star wideout A.J. Brown. So make sure you check on him before you set your lineups for tonight. All right, you guys, let's read some of your comments. I see lots of them coming in, so I'm sure we're a little pissed off. I'm sure there's some drama. Happy boring and bad Broncos Monday, Rachel. It is a little boring and it is a little bad, but hey, there was football this weekend, so we can't complain too much. Rebuilding hurts. Just have some patience. I totally agree with you. Just have a little bit of patience and you never know what can happen. It's a rookie QB. It's going to take a few years. I was actually talking to a coworker last night and he was like, it would really help if they could be good. And I'm like, give it 2 years. Like, that's what it's going to take. Now, will ownership allow it to take 2 years with Sean Payton? That's going to be the question we find out. We need a clear running back number 1 and rock with him. I don't know why it feels like, well, granted, I do know why. The offensive line is terrible. For how much money they're putting into the offensive line, you would think that they would have it figured out a little bit more. I'm going to count the amount of snaps that we saw them add extra coverage out there because we saw it a lot. I talked about it in my post-game wrap-up yesterday. There was a ton of times that they were adding extra coverage. They got to be able to figure it out. I know some guys are dealing with injuries, ankle injuries from Garrett Bowles and such. But really what we're seeing, the fact that they can't get the run going definitely could lead to some unsatisfactory type notes going into meetings today for sure. Let's see. See, can we get some O-line guys who can run block? That's what I'm saying as well. It is really, really bad. Right now we pick 8th, LOL, SOS. Yes. Hire Jerry Rosberg to help Sean Payton manage the game. I just appreciate the fact that Sean Payton is putting a lot of the blame on himself too, saying that they need to look at different things on how they are managing the game. If he was putting the blame on other players, I feel like it would be a whole other conversation, but he's taking a lot of blame as well. So I appreciate that coming from Sean Payton. But dun dun dun. So many comments. First of all, thank you. This is such a sweet comment. Good morning, Rachel. You're doing great as always. What you're doing. Thanks for doing what you do, covering the Denver sports scene. I really appreciate that. Congratulations on getting married very soon. I'm assuming you meant soon. If not here already, that is so awesome. Let's hope the Broncos can make adjustments come week 3. Keep striving, Rachel. You're awesome. Well, thank you very much. That means a lot on a Monday after we worked all weekend. So thank you so much. Did you see all the CSU fans leaving early before the game with CU was over? Crazy. Actually, I want to give a huge shout out to CSU fans. They stayed way longer than I thought they were going to. You guys, I'm not kidding. I mean, they were there for a majority of the game. And in a college town where things are clearly not going your way, it's so easy to just walk out of the stadium, go get dinner, and then go out to the bar scene. They stuck around for a really long time. I was actually really impressed. So you may have seen them leaving early, but by leaving early, I mean maybe with like 5 minutes left to go in the game, and that's not that early. I've seen them leave a lot earlier than that, let me tell you. Everyone is blaming Sean Payton. Also, how about the freaking Saints yesterday? Holy smokes, they put on a crazy game against Dallas. I was like, holy smokes. Dun, 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 dun. I'm trying to read all your guys' comments. There's literally so many. And the Broncos raised ticket prices for this. Okay. Pretty much everyone in the NFL raised tickets prices. So don't think that it was just the Broncos thinking that they were going to be hot and really good this year. Everybody essentially raised ticket prices. So don't hate on them too much. But you guys, I see your comments. I see your frustration. We're going to talk about it today, 12 p.m. Come hang out with me and James Merrillat for a Merrillat Monday. He wore his Russell Wilson jersey, and I know some people were not happy about it. We'll talk about that, of course, at 12 o'clock. And then we'll see you guys tomorrow morning for another episode of Denver Sports Daily. Have a wonderful Monday, everybody. Bye.